literally got a phone call from Oli Sykes. At this point, no, don't know bring me at all. Do you want to open our Chef O2 show? Them, Architects, Devil Wears Prada, D's Nuts. We're just like, fuck. Probably just a couple of years after that, I think I was just a bit like, I wonder how we're doing. I'm having a great time traveling the world, gigging, shows are great. I wonder like how much money we've got in the bank, and asked, and it was just in the red. And I just was like really confused at how. That was the sort of beginning of me going, I need to learn how this industry behaves. I honestly think commitment is harder to find than musicians. You're asking for like a crazy sacrifice. Mid-late 20s before any of us could stand on our own 2 feet. I mean, we were proper scraping for years. I understand why now, why people can't commit. Yeah, because it's such a risk.
Hey, welcome back to another episode. Before we really get into it, I want to mention that we've just released a vlog. We show you behind the scenes of everything it is, putting this together, taking it to London, filming in different locations, some of the costs that are involved in doing that, and all the difficulties of actually just booking people and moving things around and making it happen. So if you're interested in what goes into putting the podcast together, then check out the vlog. We'll put it on the screen now. It's available on YouTube. Go and watch that now if you're interested in everything it takes to make a podcast. Let's get to the episode.
I guess the first question, as always, then, is how did you get started in music?
That's an interesting question. I don't know if I know exactly the answer to that. I guess it's been around me in some shape or form. My brother's a couple of years older than me, which feels like quite a common story, that I was sort of influenced by him, just as you are with a big brother. My dad played guitar. I think that's probably the correct answer. My dad played guitar, and sometime in my like primary school life, I was like, I kind of want to play it. And he taught me like very basic chords, and then I was like, kind of dig it. So I guess that's the beginning of it for me.
That's how it all started. Was Sleep's the first band?
No, I like somewhere in between that happening and like the latter years of primary school, I guess for me, I think really before music, I was into like extreme sports as a kid. I was always sort of trying to watch like X Games or anything, and I didn't really get on with normal sports, but I loved extreme sports. And I think that just sat in a similar like alternative world.
Yeah.
That it came with quite a lot of music, and then the sort of like punk rock side that came with extreme sports, I started hearing. So I guess it's like game soundtracks and like skate soundtracks and skate videos and BMX videos. And then some point towards the end of my primary school, so like 10, 11, I guess. Go to secondary school at 11, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
So sometime around there, I just got really into this idea of sort of like founding or making a band. So I actually went to secondary school like with it as my kind of like my quest to sort of find some people. My primary school was like the worst experience ever. It was like a raging Catholic school. And I only went to it because I lived in the village, so I could get in, but everyone else at the school was like Catholic and baptized, and I didn't feel like I fit in at all at that school. And then I started getting into this stuff, which made me feel even less like I got into it. And then at secondary school, I obviously didn't go to a religious secondary school. And I went there and was quite excited by the opportunity of like, I can go here and find some people to start this band idea with. And sort of went in secondary school like that. I think I was like imagining my own bands. Like I think a lot of this was probably in my head before it was real. And it kind of started at school for me. I just went to like the music lessons rooms and like watched like I found Sav by like watching the drummers who did music lessons through the window, like peeking and then like going and tapping on their back and being like, yeah, would you have a jam? And that's like that was probably in like year 7. So I've actually been playing in my first band we called States of Matter. It was a punk band. Anti-establishment punk was our genre.
Perfect name for it, man.
Which ironically, it's like fast forward like 30 years or whatever. It's like not a million miles away from what I ended up doing. And basically I started playing with Sav and Sean. Really, Sav was in States of Matter, and then like I had loads of like bands in school before Sleep started, just that were never like materialized that much, but like just did a few local shows, or I did that like local Sheffield, like South Yorkshire circuit so much from sort of year 7 at school, and Sleep started in 2006, which I'll have been like year 10, I think.
Right.
So yeah, a long time.
That's pretty wild though, to be in a band in year 10 and then it actually turned into a career.
Yeah, it's mental that it's like it's my schoolmates as well. Like,
yeah, that's fucking wild, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and we just like went through loads of iterations of different names. I think shout out. So States Matter was the start. Then we had one called Deadfall, we had one called Strike 3, we had one called Final Ruin. Sleeps was actually called Evading Grace before it was called While She Sleeps.
Nice.
Still a shit name.
My school band was While She Sleeps. And it was yours, my school.
I was like, what the fuck?
my school.
How did we get it on MySpace?
Mine was She Saves Suburbia.
Oh, great. It's equally as shite.
Equally.
What an era. What an era to be alive. If only someone could like tell you at that point in your life that you're like, this is going to be your career. And I'm like, oh, we just like sat naming it out of like a chat magazine that my mum was reading at the fucking table.
I love it, man. When did you realize that was actually a career then? Like, where was the tipping point where it stopped being like a school band and it was a real band?
So the sort of 2006, 2009 of Sleeps was like loads of local gigging. And I was just booking whatever I could find and trying to sort of like get proper gigs, because for me when it started I was just like hiring like church halls and leisure centers, and I got a PA and started putting on shows, and like that was like the beginning of it. And then in Sleeps I was like, right, we need to support people and get to town, and I'm kind of watching people go on tour being like, how does this bit happen? And like obviously at this era, like I like would get books and shit like that to try and learn more about how the industry works, but I didn't know that like promoters existed and those things, because you just don't at the beginning. There's no social media or like telling you this is how it works. So I eventually started getting us on like supporting shows in Sheffield, but we'd still not done a tour. And then this was with Jordan, our original singer, and then we played some shows in Doncaster, a place called The Leopard, and Loz's band were playing on the same show. They were called Fail to Reason. They were fucking sick, like great band, and he just like ripped as a frontman. And we kind of went back to school like the next week, and we're like, we were like having like sort of like guilty fantasies, being like, can you imagine how good Loz would be if he was like singing for us? Like, no disrespect to Jordan, but like he was just like explosive as a frontman and like kind of like terrifying. And then we finally sort of get this local tour offer, not local tour, like UK tour, shout out Ignominious Incarceration. And they were on like Earache, and it was like super like death metal. And because we'd been doing it for like 3 years, we kind of had this agreement in place that we were like, we'll quit whatever we've got going on if something comes up. And this tour comes up and we're like, okay, job in the bin. Or like, if you can't get it off work, like, let's just do it. We've been waiting for a tour. For me at this point, I've been playing for like 6 years or something. Do you know what I mean? It's all my entire school life, like trying to get this thing off the ground. And Jordan was like, I can't quit my job. Like I have like a decent job. Because I think this was, first, it's 2009. So we've been out of school for like 2 years.
That's still young to not be willing to quit your job.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, to have a job at that age is pretty good going. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt the podcast, but if you're enjoying it, please give us a rate and a review on Spotify or Apple. If you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a subscribe. It really, really helps the channel knowing that we've got the subscribers and people are listening and rating and reviewing it. It'll help us keep booking more guests and doing more podcasts. So do us that one little favor and we'll be able to keep booking more people and keep doing more episodes. Back to it.
So he'd gone out of school and got a job. We'd like gone to college or like on sixth form or whatever. I just like sucked at education, so I just always did like 3 months at a college and then went and did a job and then tried at college again the next year, then got a job. And like, so we were all like, okay, we got this tour, let's do it. George was like, I can't, and we were like, should we ask Loz if he wants to like do the run? He'd actually filled in for us once before. We played a show in Belgium, like the first time we'd left the country. Like just a show I got through MySpace. And he did that. And I think he said he got home from that run in Europe and we'd had like the best time. I drove this like little, basically like a 5-seater car with a big boot there with, and he said he got back and like cried when he got home because it was like a fill-in show and he was just like, fuck, is that over? And I know that feeling when you come back from tour. It's quite weird. You come back and it's like, oh my God, what whirlwind have I just been in? And like, will I have it again? Yeah. And we asked Loz to do it, and that was our first tour. And then I picked him up. He was working as a teaching assistant in Doncaster. Shout out. Would you expect that to be Loz's last job? And I picked him up from the school he was working at, Armthorpe Comp. And he had like shirt on, and we like drove down the motorway back to Chef, and he like threw his shirt out the window, and he was like, "I'm fucking in. Like, I'm not getting a job again." And we went to this garage, and he just said, "What are we gonna do to get fucking massive?" And I was like, "We're just going to send it. Like, we're just gonna put everything we have into this." And that was like the turning point for us in probably 2009. Where we were like, okay, let's just all move into my house together, my dad's house, and write a record. And that's the No Sense for Nothing.
I love that, man. I love the drive and the determination from the start, because we've got the studios and the venue and we're around a lot of local bands. And the amount of bands that want to do something, but their thing has been like, oh, we're quite happy just doing some local shows. And that determination that you have is the reason you're successful.
I honestly think like commitment is harder to find than musicians.
Yeah.
Because you're asking for like a crazy sacrifice. And now at this point in my life, I like look back at it now and I realize that I've just been searching for people to sort of join this idea that I like had really quite young. And I've been sort of constantly searching for other people who were willing to sort of dedicate as much of it. Luckily, I found a fucking insane bunch of dudes to do that who were willing to not move out of their houses for a fucking long time and not make enough money to survive for like, God, we were like mid-late 20s before any of us could like stand on our own 2 feet. You know what I mean? We were proper scraping for years, and like I understand why people can't commit.
Yeah.
Because it's such a risk. Everyone's talking about like the industry, like being so hard to survive in, never mind how many other bands there is in those things, and trying to make a proper living out of it. I'm very grateful that like those dudes were willing to sort of take that risk and be so committed to it.
Yeah.
I think that's because it had a very exciting energy in at the time, and it was very like, we used to just say all in, and it were like, we don't care if we sleep in the van or whatever happens. Like, we were quite happy doing it that way.
Yeah, I think that's the difference, man. Were you always interested in the business side of it? Like, was it a goal to get the record label and do all the big stereotype shit, or was the DIY thing like always attractive?
I like wasn't conscious to this, but then now when I like look back, me and like my brother used to play like hockey, like street hockey outside our house, like rollerblade street hockey, proper like mid-90s vibe.
White Ducks.
Yeah. And I at that time, I must have been like, I'm like 6 years old. I made like merch for my hockey team, Spinkle Smashers.
That was the first thing that I actually ever did, was make a t-shirt for my street hockey team.
And then I put same, bro. And then I put a
There was
sign
this.
outside my fucking house that said like official Spinkle Smashers official store. And like I did that outside my house. And then now when like you asked me that question, I'm like, yeah, I think subconsciously I've loved, as much as I love playing, I love writing music, and I actually love it just being this brandable project, and it being like, it's like you making your own team or crew. Do you know what I mean? I think I love that aspect of it, which is essentially the business side. It's like the branding and making something that's yours, like as much as I do. I'm a project person, not like an end result. I just like being part of a bigger project.
Yeah. When did the band sign to Sony?
So 2010 North comes out. We have like a crazy couple of years. That like record, we released it on Small Town Records. Shout out Pete Weeks, who was a legend. He sort of came to see us at the show and was like, I'll put it out. And that was the first like label moment we had. And then we were playing a show in Leeds. I literally got a phone call from Oli Sykes. At this point, don't know bring me at all. Like weirdly from Chef, but like grew up on different sides of the town, so like didn't have anything to do with him. I got a phone call from Oli being like, do you want to open our Chef O2 show with like them, Architects, Devil Wears Prada, D's Nuts? Like, yeah, I think that was the bill. Crazy show. And just out of the blue, was like, do you want to open the show? We're just like, fuck, yeah. And then immediately after that, get a phone call from Raw Power, from a guy called Ollie Mitchell. I'm still good friends with, was a legend. He used to sing in a band called Johnny Truant from Brighton. And he's like, we're interested in Sleeps. We're going to come and watch you at this Chef show. Played that show. Show was bonkers. Because at that time we were like the local underdog. I kind of watched this happen with Malevolence, where like the shows are just bonkers, and it's like everyone, the Chef has this way of just like getting behind that band on like the tip of the wave and just like pushing it. And that show at O2 for us was like that moment, and we had this crazy show, and then joined Raw Power. And then after joining Raw Power, they were like, we've got this record deal, which at the time we were just like, we were in that moment of what do you do after the success of a first record or like EP mini album, but like it had done really well. And like the merch was kind of exploding, and yeah, we were like, you're going to sign to Sony. At that point, we're just like, fucking hell, this is bonkers. We're going to sign to a major. I don't know enough about that point not to just go, yep, I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm down for whatever. It's like, it's 2012 or 2011 we probably signed. And I was just like excited by everything. We're just about to get on a tour bus. It's like, it's all just, I had this orange van that I was driving us in. And the moment when we suddenly like couldn't go in it because we needed more crew, I was like, whoa, like my van just lives at home. And then suddenly like a tour bus is coming, or like it just was a real like shock to the system. And at that kind of time, I then like was a bit distracted from the role I'd been playing the entire time, which was like the management booker sort of role. And we joined this massive thing who were like managing all these, like they just like had the UK scene,
Yeah.
or more than the UK scene at that time. They had just everyone exploding at that bit. It was like Gallows, Bullet, Funeral, like Bring Me Broco, like everything really at the time. And I kind of let go of the management reins a little bit then, and just went, yeah, for sign Sony. I don't need to read the contract. Let's go. Yeah.
How did your day-to-day change them handing that over? And did they build a team like booking agents and promoters? And
actually, at that point, during the North, we started getting booked by a woman called Becky Sugden, who was amazing. And she was like massively responsible for getting us like some wicked stuff in that North era. And then we moved to a guy called Tom Tafe.
Shout out both of those guys because they have said in the past they'll come on the podcast, but we haven't got a date. So
I'm going for lunch with Tom after this. So
just putting it out there.
He's a great lad. And so is Becky. And so we moved to them, and I love Ollie Mitchell, who was managers at Raw Power, but he literally said to me, he was like, Welsh, like you have to like start being a musician, or like stop being, you can't like backseat drive this, like we know what we're doing, let go and be a band member. And I kind of remember just being like, I don't know, it hurt a little bit, but then I was like, okay, like I'm stoked kind of that I just get to like pay a bit less attention. They like put a tour manager on the gig, and I basically didn't pay attention for that, like this is the 6th cycle to the business side of it.
Yeah.
And I'll let you ask me when that started happening again. Yeah, I like let go of it until I realized.
So what was the consequence then?
It was just like probably just a couple of years after that, I think I was just a bit like, I wonder how we're doing. I'm having a great time and we're all over the world and we're like absolutely in a spiral of like amazing. Yeah. Traveling the world, gigging, shows are great. Like the record's done good. We won like Best British Newcomer, and like it was just a mad time. And I think one day I was like, I wonder like how much money we've got in the bank, and like asked, and it was just like in the red. And I just was like really confused at how that even works. And that was the sort of beginning of me going, I need to learn how this like industry behaves like this. And then began learning that you take an advance, you sell a record, you take an advance, you live off that thing. And then when you run out of that, you sign another deal. And
how much of that is sort of like transparent and upfront? Because I think that it's like a common thing with bands not really understanding.
I think you're just so unbelievably excited at the beginning and like, I fucking hate law in this way, because it's like we invented a language that only one person in the room can speak, the lawyer.
Yeah.
And the rest of the people can't speak it. So you kind of have to like, hopefully have a good enough lawyer to make it digestible for you. But you're also like, at that point, we were 1, super excited, 2, like overwhelmed and massively like living that kind of imposter syndrome of, I'm just kind of nodding along with a lot of this shit. Do you know what I mean? Being like, just give us the money to make the record. And
I guess you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know what questions to ask.
You don't know. And all my dreams were coming true at this point. So I just kind of like, you hear the numbers and not the bits that you're like, oh, I'm selling you this music, or I'm signing.
Yeah. Because the numbers are pretty big, right? Like there might not be anything left at the end, but like on shows like ticket sales, gross and stuff like that is huge.
Yeah, like you see way bigger sums of money than you've ever seen in your life. It's like, especially at that point. And yes, I'll fully like say I just didn't pay enough attention. I was just too excited, and I didn't understand the way the system works in that way. So yeah, it was only when I actually sort of started asking these questions, and they're like, oh, he's in the red, but like it's not a problem because we're just going to do another deal. And then it's all started like, eventually just like, it all started to make sense in my head that I was a bit like, I don't like that this is the way that it's done.
Yeah.
I don't like this idea that we like borrow money to survive, sell this thing that we've, maybe for me, because it feels like it's been so long of me trying to make this thing, that the idea of selling it for like a price kind of sucks. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't want, and slowly transition. This is like fast forwarding quite a lot, but eventually started trying to be like, how do we just make it so that we just earn a little bit off this stuff to survive, and we never sell anything in bulk. The person just buys the bread from us once a week, and that's it. They keep coming, that's fine. Not like we buy 1,000 loaves once a year. Like, I don't know, and for me, it all just like transitioned into being like, I don't like the way this works.
So was that a slow process of you picking up little different parts of it, saying, I want to learn how this works, and then piecing it together?
Yeah, and also quite like subconsciously, I was more just felt like I was kind of firefighting those things and being like, after, I think when I found out that thing that we were like actually in a hole, I was like, well, we need to do like something to get out of it. And actually asked our booking agent, Tom, like, respect to him for this. And I think this is part of the way our relationships have been, that they've always been very open and like sort of transparent with it. This is quite a bigger picture story. And I was like, Tom, can we do a self-hired tour? Can I just book the venues across the country and politely not pay any commission? Because I'm saying we don't need the help of the booking agent to book it. Like, literally, can I just ring round 15 venues? Because if I do that and the venue says, hi, can I have like 500 quid? I'm like, okay, say we charge a tenner to get in. Do you know what I mean? There's profit there, and we basically just went mental at being like, how do we fix our debt? How do we get the banks to zero? And went into this soup that, like, when you're in this bad situation, the fight of getting out is like the best encouragement, to do those things. So like
motivate.
all our like best accomplishments have come because we've needed to climb out of somewhere or like had to prove something, rather than just being like, what would be fun? A self-hired tour. It's like, no, like it was always to counter something else. And we just went on this quest to be like, how do we fucking kill this debt? Because it felt a bit like we were kind of living the success was actually a fraud. I think for us, it felt like that we're like, oh, this isn't a success. We're fucking like, we're in our overdraft essentially.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, but we're like, hey, look how well it's going. And I was like, this just felt wrong. Maybe that's because the band has always tried to play a very like honest narrative. Like, yeah, I didn't like it. So, and then it just slowly transitioned into, it never was a plan for me to like be the manager.
From that, is that why you decided to crowdfund?
Yeah, that's You Are We, really. And we had like fully had that idea, like, not encouraged. Which I understand. I would like, whether I would encourage someone to do it, I would be entirely based on their attitude. But yeah, there was always this conversation with us where, what if you could just say, if you want the record, give me a tenner, I'll make the record. We'll give you back the record. Deal, done. Simple as it gets. Like, artist, fan, that's it. So yeah, that is the beginning of You Are We, really. Which I think we did it through Pledge Music, who at the time were like doing quite cool stuff in that sort of world. Not here anymore, but it was a good way to do it because it had enough help within it. If we just tried to do that blind today, being like, well, just send us 20 quid on PayPal and you'll get the record, and then suddenly we're like, holy shit, we need to like manufacture, distribute this whole thing. They had enough like plugged in connections.
Pledge did.
Yeah. To sort of help you manufacture, and you need that like customer support back end and those things. You can't just be like, we're a label now. So yeah, that was the beginning of that. And I think actually it was in quite a safe house because they had help in those bits. You did it on their platform. And that record was, to be fair, thinking back to it, there's a lot of change there. It was after Brainwash, which was our second record on Sony. At the end of that, we were like, we don't want another deal.
Was that the deal had come to an end? And
Yeah, it was Brainwash was the second option, or first, second record on it, and they'd taken the option, and yeah, we at that point we just kind of, it was all right, but we didn't like love the experience. Felt quite like small fish, big pond, and yeah, we just kind of wanted to, and we knew we were in loads of debt, and actually we'd like just sold that record. We'd like kind of had accepted that we're never going to recoup the advance, and we're just like, oh, that's kind of dumb. What if we weren't desperate to rush into another one of those.
Can you explain why you didn't recoup if it was all going well?
Because physical sales just, it's good, but it's not like, they like the money they put on the table to make the record and make the music videos is more than the recoup can make it. Like, I mean, it looked good, but by the time like we'd made the record and made other things and we tried to survive off it, there wasn't really, it was over quite quickly.
Yeah.
Still not recoup now. It just, and they also they didn't press the vinyl.
Right.
Like vinyl was like hadn't had that resurgence yet.
Yeah.
So we were trying to recoup out of CDs. Like, it just didn't happen. And I didn't know this, and then I eventually was like, oh, how much have we recouped? And it was just like such a pathetic amount, and I was just like, yeah, we're never getting, even if we recouped, I think like the rights period is so long that like,
yeah, the retention period is like,
and that was the point where like, fucking hell, actually this is like a bit mad, but it's fine. We like the mistakes, as you call them, are like, they're the reason you get to specific places. So I'm like not at all mad about any of them. They're just parts of the journey for me.
Yeah.
So I think that's why Pledge started. And then because we were sort of free of that contract, we were so excited about making something in our own thing. And we kind of, we had this like really sort of shit practice space in Sheffield. It was like great at the time. It was this place called Stagworks, which like everyone's had a rehearsal room there. Like Artsy Monkeys have had one, Bring Me have had one. Like it was sick. It was like 4 walls full of fucking rehearsal rooms, and there was just music at all times of day. And like some are covers bands, some are like raves. It's just like a bit mental. And me and Loz were like living in this thing when we were recording Brainwashed, but it wasn't very practical. We were like, how sick would it be if we could actually get like a bit more of a headquarters that we could maybe put a studio in, and maybe we could record the next record ourselves. And if we had a bigger space for the projects in our head, it kind of would save us money in the long run. And that's how the warehouse started. And when we got the space, it was obviously quite an overwhelming task, but we just like went mad on, well, how do we get materials for cheap or for nothing? I was just like, every time I drove past a skip, I just stopped and just picked through it. And
I love the idea of like Sleeps are like this massive band that people like see as heroes, and you just see the guitarist in a skip
just pulling like
in
insulation out of this skip, putting it in the boot of my car, being like, that's gonna save me a bit on that wall. I was even like asking like charity shops for like the stuff that they couldn't sell, like rag basically, to like use as insulation in walls. And just like we were asking everyone of like, can you help us make this thing? And if someone was like, oh, you can have this, I was like, yep. And all the doors were like, if you go to like a PVC window place or anything like this, they're constantly taking out wooden doors and wooden windows to put in PVC. So they have these like yards full of just fucked old windows and doors. And I was just like, can I pick at you? And they're like, help yourself, mate. So the whole place was built like that. But it was like a bunch of 20-year-old lads making a treehouse together. It was like the funnest sort of like rule-free project of like, we're going to build this fucking place that we can live and make music and make art. And that just put this crazy fire in us that by the time we sort of got to the end of it and kind of got it functioning, we were like, this is sick. And then You Are We is immediately being born in that building. And we got this pledge campaign, and we're like, we're like recycling everything from the record. You can buy the cymbals and the valves from the amps and like all these things to sort of fund the record. And it would just like, it had such an energy in that whole project that I think that's why that record came out the way it did, because we weren't like, the label needs another album, let's make one. We were like, nah, we're just like on our own. It's sick.
That sounds awesome, man. At that point, what was the team around you? So you got rid of your agent, maybe?
No, so we're still with Tom.
Still with Tom.
We're actually still with Raw Power, but the relationship wasn't the healthiest. We're with Niall, but we'd kind of like, we'd had to say to them like, we're going to do the record this way, and they were like, you do know that it's going to be like way more work than you think. I think that's why Niall's like, that thing worked, but only because they were so driven on it.
Yeah.
And like respects to everyone in Raw Power at that time, because that was something that they'd not done inside. They'd not released a record that way. And we were very much like breaking their model by encouraging that. And I think it was like Rosie and Niall, basically. Rosie was technically the manager and Niall was like day to day in.
Right.
And I don't think he'd been in the company very long then. Like, it's one of his first.
I think he might have said you were one of the first ones.
I think we were.
He came quite fresh.
Yeah. So they were kind of like thrown, both Rosie and Niall were kind of thrown, and they were both young at the time. They were thrown into like doing loads of bits that weren't necessarily normally under their job role. And we worked with a company called Believe Distribution, with Barley, who's now at Nuclear Blast in that, and it was just kind of everyone like mucked in and like proper like, I hate the like not my job phrase.
Yeah.
Like that's how to like leave our crew, that if you're like, well, it's not my job, you're like, none of these are anyone's jobs. We just do like whatever needs doing at the time. That's what Sleeps is kind of about. That's why the bass player makes the music videos and the other guitarist records us, and like it is that environment. They like got really involved with that project, and we all kind of had to be a bit like, well, this was more work than we thought it was when it was just a cool idea at a table, but then the result was so much better. It was like our first top 10 record, and it was the one we did without a major label or the funding of a major label. So it really like spurred us on.
Did the warehouse, like, did you see that as a business in itself, or was that just an expense that was worth it for the band?
We eventually turned it into a business of its own, and that was kind of the idea at the beginning. We like, that's a thing called Six Audio, and the idea at the beginning was like, well, we'd like separate the warehouse from the band to be like a separate limited, and the idea originally was that like we'll record bands and we can use it as a pre-production space and those things. But then, and this is the same with any kind of side hustle or other business in my life, Sleeps is just so consuming that all these things are great ideas at the time, but like Sleeps just requires our attention. So this Six Audio idea, we never really got off the ground in terms of recording other bands. Like nice things happened with it, like Neck Deep started storing at the space and rehearsing there, and then like that led on to like other bands rehearsing there. We've had like loads of people do pre-production. We've had Sleep Token there, had Youngblood there, like loads of bands like use the space to pre-production, but it never happened as a studio. But that's because the studio turned into our little space and it never kind of closes.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool to have your own thing and not have other people.
Yeah. At the time, like when we first got it, I think that was they were ways for us to justify having such a cost.
Yeah.
It was like, well, if we can make X amount, and we're part of, in the courtyard that we're in, there's a thing called Peddler, which do like an event once a month. It's like a street food market, but they have like live music on. So they take our unit once a month, and there's like live bands play in our unit as like a stage.
Sick.
So there's little ways in it that like help us keep that afloat without it always being a Sleeps thing. which has been quite nice. I've always liked that it's been a little separate business, even if we've never been able to give it as much attention as it might have needed.
After UOE, you left Raw Power.
Yeah.
How then did you decide like where to invest money and where to put things, whether you're doing merch or you're doing shows or...
So when we left, that the original plan was that we're basically going to like not find a new management, but find like someone who wants to be the manager, and I'd like work with them. Because I think at the time I was quite
more like a one-man band than a big company.
Yeah, because I think we've realized at this point that like that's where we're all from quite local like establishments, and we like it that way. Do you know what I mean? We're from like villages surrounding cities or towns, and it's very like it's, I don't know, we've always felt more comfortable in that way. So that was kind of the plan after Raw Power, that we're like we'll get someone who's sort of acting as the manager, and I'll work with them. And like, and I say this like me, but it's always the five of us in the conversation. I was just kind of like always acting as a spokesperson or like orchestrating the group to be like, what do we think we should do here, guys? These are probably the three best options. What do we think? It's like, I've never been like telling the boys what we should do necessarily. But then we just never really got to that point of like finding someone. We just kind of cracked on, and then almost like looks up a couple of years later and we're just like, this is fine, isn't it? Like we're really hands on deck with the projects. Everyone's enjoying picking up these roles. Like Sav, the drummer's like designing loads of the merch and he's running that. I'm doing the merch stuff as well. Like Sean's in the studio, Aaron's making the videos. Loz is like absolute finger on the pulse with like the local scene and like who the supports should be and like venues and the sort of live side of things. And we're like all going to the warehouse like almost every day of the week like it's a job. I definitely was, and like the rest of them were almost doing the same, and it was just a really good productive energy that we kind of were like, oh, I don't even know if we need to find someone. This is good.
Did you all sort of just naturally fall into those sort of roles and positions?
I think, yeah, kind of, but we just worked out that this is where people are good rather than like, I think I could do this. It was more like, I'm comfortable here. And everyone slowly excelled in those areas. And then it became serious enough for you to be like, I remember when Aaron was like, I think, could I try and make the next music video? And like, we'd been making music videos with my brother from the beginning because he makes film. And Aaron was like, I think I can like have a go at one. And we were just like, yeah, let's do it. And it actually like every time we've been in these situations and it's become more in-house, we've become more driven by it. They've had the best knock-on effect that it enables us to get more creative or feel more comfortable and like now manage us in a certain way because we're kind of like, it's just us. We're not like, what do you think we should do? We're a bit like, what do we want to do? Like it's totally up to us.
Is that on a personal level for you made a big difference in the sense that like everyone in the band is this like creative driven person rather than just musician?
Yeah, like at this point it's great. There's definitely like a dip in my like journey with it of from the beginning of managing. As much as I loved it, I like struggled with workload and struggled finding out whether like I might like how to separate music from the business.
What's your sort of almost daily split of your time?
I'm trying to make a personal rule where I like record something once a week. So I go and have like a studio day and I just put something down because I fell unhealthily into a place where I just played my laptop, not my guitar.
You're just businessman.
Yeah. And that like, which was really difficult because it was making the band work and like the business was running. But then I'm actually like getting unhealthier creatively because I'm not having this outlet which I've always had and which is also probably a part of our sleeps that's what you recognize. So it's got loads healthier in the last like 2 or 3 years. I eventually got an assistant, which I should have done so much earlier. And now I've managed to get creative as well as keep the business, which is really nice, because that was the sort of problem I got to. I stopped being creative and just tried to take care of the projects.
Is having that assistant there so like you can still be the driving force, the reason you don't need that manager?
Yeah, that's made it be able to, because I think tipping point was like Ali Pali, because that project was so big and just like consumed us for like best part of 2 years before it, from like deciding we're going to do it to deciding how we announce it and like market it to like what's the actual show, what are we playing, how does it look, what's the production. We're so involved with all the steps in that thing.
Was that your own show, like
No.
as a promoter?
No, it was Kilimanjaro.
Okay.
We've basically used Kille and Alan Day at Kille for like, he was one of the first people to be like, I'll take the risk on you guys, and we've just done shows with them ever since.
Why is it then not having a label works, but not having a promoter?
All these things could work if you fill that void and you're good enough at it, or are passionate enough about it. Like, I don't think like not having a label works. Like, we've got a distribution deal now, because that's the bit that I can't do.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do. Like, the most I've learned like today is that like, what are the bits that matter that I do them versus I just like the sort of control of doing them. So now I like to do the bits that you like, that mattered that I did it. And it doesn't matter that like I'm at no benefit to distributing my own record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or I love like creating the product out of like the idea and the arty side of the product, but I don't need to be part of the manufacturing of those things. So like, and the same with promoting, there's people who've spent their like lives nailing that system. So like finding those people who are just like as passionate as you.
Alan's like extremely passionate about the band.
Totally. He's moshed
So-
at every sleep show he's ever put on, I think. Like, he like was in the pit at Ali Pali and it was his show. Like, it's those things, like, as much as Sleeps is like independent, it's also like we just like to work with people who are a similar level of independence as us.
Yeah.
And who have sort of come from the same thing. Like, Alan just put on shows in Oxford as like a teenager and has just slowly climbed, and now is putting on O2. It's like, I just love those stories. I've never been a fan of like the overnight success. I just like it when people have just done their thing forever and like are eventually in a good place. And he's the perfect example. So he's like, and he's also been totally sound when we've said, can we self-hire this show? Because we're in a situation where we need the money, not so we can all go home and buy nice cars, but so that we can like keep the band alive or build the warehouse or do these things.
Yeah.
And luckily, because we'd worked with good people like that, they understood that and went, yeah, this is the right thing to do.
I guess it's finding some people that have like a band first mentality, which like you can tell he does.
Totally.
So having a few people like that you can bring in when you need them, really.
Yeah, and same with Tom, who books us. It's like nothing's ever been about like tomorrow. It's always been about 10 years in front. Like, where do we want to be? How do we keep the band healthy? How do we make sure it can exist for another 20 years? That's like, I have those people around us now, which is so, it feels very safe in a good way.
With that sort of thing of like 10, 20 years, how are you managing the sort of cash flow of the business when you don't know what the annual income is, if you don't know like what gigs you're going to play, when you're going to release, or different things?
Just trying to be, I mean, this is still a part of, like, I feel like I've just been learning every day of my life, you know, and like, luckily what we've taken risks on, what we've done to get here has worked, but like, I do constantly feel like I'm learning, and that bit of it, like cash flowing and proper accounting, that's something that in the last, like, really helped when I got Jay, who's my assistant. He's like, I remember talking to my wife about it before we got Jay, and I was like, I can't get to this bit because there's just, I can't be as organized as I want to be because there's just too many things in front. There's too many, like, well, we should be focusing on that tour, we should be writing, or we should be like, we could probably do the merch range, or like all these things. I never got to the point of being able to be like 5 steps in front to go. I was always just sort of eating the food in front of me and then moving on. And when Jay came into it, I literally said to him, like, straight away, I was like, I just want us to get a better handle. We need more hands to get a better handle on this whole thing and try and see further into the future. And like, we've spent the last couple of years doing that, and the whole business is a lot like healthier.
What was his sort of background before coming to you?
He worked as a day-to-day for another management company, and he'd like had his own thing, sort of working with like development with small bands and stuff like that. And he lived locally, and it just worked really well. It was a very sort of natural beginning. And he loves numbers, and so does my wife. And like, we'd go home. She works in non-for-profit. That always sounds wrong when I say it. Non-profit, not non-for-profit.
Not for profit.
So she was working like charity, but her job was like organizing someone who's got this really passionate idea, but then how do they like actually make a business out of it? And you still have to like, how does it work with volunteers? And you have to have a couple of paid people to sort of keep the whole thing running. And so we'd spend like so many of our evenings like strategizing. It's not the right word either, is it?
I think it is.
Is it? We'll take it. Just being like, it was like a really sort of healthy lifeline in our relationship, that she was like quite involved, and we're always talking about like, well, how do we just make it work a bit better? Never about making money, always about like the sustainability of it and trying to make us all healthy and like possible, like make it all possible. And then when Jay came in, we finally got in front of it enough to put a handle on that stuff, and then potentially just started being a bit smarter about the way we tour stuff. We like separated our touring groups into like A, B, and C. So if we do a show where I'm like, right, we're doing an A team show where we'll take full crew, full production, like bus, Arctic, like, or we do a show where we think, let's say a B show, where we think it's a show that is more about it being a marketing idea, that we should do this show and it would be good for the band. So we'll do that with the same amount of crew we had in 2018, 19. And it's like 9 of us, and we could actually do it in a van and a gear van. And then there's C, where it's like we can do band and 2 people and no backdrop. And that's just like, if we just need to rock in and the money's shit, but we think it's a great thing to do. And like, whereas before we were just trying to take the same version everywhere.
Is that something that's quite unique to you?
What, like
breaking it down like that?
I think it just helped us go, because I feel like I see this with other bands. It's like they won't step below where they are.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, that's what we're doing now. We can't not do it without all that stuff. And I think we like had a few like meetings with the 5 of us where we were like we can do this. Isn't like a mark of us not being like dropping in success or anything like that. This is just like, this is how to make this beneficial. We're going to South America to play the show, but like, let's just take like nothing. And again, that like putting us in that environment actually spurs us on, that you haven't got any lights or anything fancy. So you're like, we play like we played in those birthing years where we've massively got something to prove. And then suddenly I'm like, hey, I kind of enjoyed the stripped back version. We did a couple of these things where I was like, okay, I'll TM because we need a bit, we can't afford to take as many people. And I'm like, we do these things and we come back and we're like, this weekend was sick, weren't it? Like, it's just a change of environment, but it's those little things. And better running of the whole project, just more. It's like trying to fucking sail a boat on your own. Do you know what I mean? If you like have more people, it like who are all driving into the same thing, you can organize the whole thing better, and that's really helped us properly be able to cash flow and make better decisions.
That's a great approach, man. I think that's really good. I think it comes across as well because, as you say, a lot of bands will think, oh, we can't go and play that venue because then we look smaller. But people will see you playing a smaller venue and they'll just think that's cool because they already know that you can play the big one.
Yeah, it's always been in my head as like a long-term strategy where it's like, let's play the biggest room we can play, and then let's go and play 20 rooms that we love, and then let's play the next biggest room we can, and then let's go and play those things. And it's like, because we still like honestly, for me, I'm as happy at 20,000 as I am at like 2,000 or 200. Like we literally came off the other day and Sean was like, if that's not it, then like, I don't know what we're chasing. I don't know what we're searching for, because we're playing like a crazy slot, the crowd are off their head, like there's fucking pyro and all this shit, and sing-alongs are huge, and we're just like, if we're not okay with this, like we're searching for something that doesn't exist. And I get that from, I don't need a number of people in the crowd to get that. It's just about having a group of passionate people, like a couple of hundred people, honestly, even less if it's just the energies in the room. So, and I think maybe that's like communicated in Sleeps, that we like those things. It's more than like, it's not a success project for us. It's a passion project. And maybe that's kept us alive a little bit.
I mean, going in on that big show, Ali Pali was a massive one.
Yeah.
We actually, like, bit of little trivia. We, when you put that poster out, we saw it and just thought it was as Uprawr with the club, we thought it was like the coolest thing ever. So we stole it, did our own version, announced in Halloween, like using your, like literally ripping it off completely, sent it to Laz and was just like, dude, we think this is the coolest poster ever. Are you okay with this?
I think I remember seeing it.
And he just looked at it and was just like, yeah, cool. Do you mind referencing us? And we put it out being like, we literally put it out being like, we thought the Sleeps poster was the coolest thing ever, so we stole it. This is our Halloween.
I love that. There's like that. We did the same thing a few years before where I put out, me and Lars had been having this conversation for years where we'd always have this thing with, we know things about like streaming, but I feel like no one ever like, everyone's like, yeah, streaming sucks. But no one's ever like breaking anything down into like digestible information. And we were like, we always said, why don't we just do a shirt that just says, this is how much a stream makes, or this is how, or where we got to was like, let's tell people how many streams that t-shirt's worth. And we'd been discussing that for ages. And then we're like, right, how do we get the wording quite right? And then what do we do? And we put it out and just said, put the statement fact out, and then said nothing to do with Sleeps on it. And it just said, on our website had like the downloadable print file, and it was like, put this on any of your band's merch. Anyone can have it. Venues can have it. Do whatever you want. And it went bonkers. And like, it was the first time we had this thing where we're like, it's quite fun. Just like, now I've never been cagey anyway about being like, I'm not going to tell you where we came up with that or like how we did it. I like hate that fucking gatekeeping shit. It drives me crazy, because the more everyone succeeds, like the more we share, the more everyone succeeds, I think. And yeah, and then the Ali Pali thing's the same. It's like, I'm always stoked when it's like the best sign of you doing something good if someone copies you.
Oh, 100%, man.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's definitely the best thing. I mean, what was because that would have been a huge undertaking. What was your job in putting that together?
Just sort of being at that central part of the machine.
Being behind the marketing and...
Yeah, like Sleeps are good marketeers as a collective. We love that, like, that brainstorm. We always like, we love getting in the room and being like, what could we do? Or like trying to reverse engineer something from like, well, how do you want them to feel? Like, so let's work back. And we were just sat in the backstage in Europe, and Taff, he's gonna hate me. His name's pronounced Tafe, but I've called him Taff forever.
I didn't know that. I've called him
Yeah,
Taff.
yeah.
He was the first person to let me book a show.
Oh, really? Ledge. What a fucking guy. And he just came from like a Australian hardcore scene. Just like him. And I always I've done like all the posters for Sleeps forever. And I'm on a Photoshop document, and I was like, I think I was quite inspired by that statement shirt and like, how do we do something cool? And then we're just trying things. And then we were like, what if the poster literally just says like, on this date while she sleeps, we'll do this, you are invited. Like, and we make the show like an invite rather than like, while she sleeps, Alexandra Palace. I don't know. And we like that narrative that everything can be done in that way. And it's quite third person. And you're like, on this date, Barry tomorrow will be supporting While She Sleeps at Ali Pali. And it just like, it felt nice that we had this like house. That's always my attempt with branding and marketing, is like, you'll see the show we just announced today. I got this old, like, it's called Bill Wires A-frames from like news agents. And it was like an independent newspaper one. I like repainted it all and made it like a Sleeps one. And that's how I'm gonna, everything to do with that show will be framed on this thing in different locations. And it's just like, it makes it feel like it's always about that show. I want you to see that and go, oh, that's Ali Pali. Do you know what I mean? Every time you see that format, you're like, oh, it's the Sleeps Ali Pali thing. And then, yeah, we just got quite excited by doing it that way. And it felt slightly different. That we were like, at the show, let's make like business cards and like hand them out like invites at the end of the Parkway show a year before. We actually planned to do Ali Pali that year, the year before, so 22. And then Parkway offered us the tour with them that had Ali Pali on it. And we said, okay, actually, felt a bit like we're taking a risk. Let's just play safe, do your show, and we'll announce our show at your show. And then,
yeah, it's pretty fucking cool in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, it was sick. And then we'd had this thing where we're like, what could we do at the show that was like louder than just going like, we're gonna be back here in a year playing it. So we were like, what if at the end of the show we like flew this banner that said like While She Sleeps headline Alexandra Palace on this date, and loved the idea. And we had a day off before the show, and I was like, I'm going to the fucking fabric shop. And me and Sav and my wife, bless her, respect, just like painted this banner on the floor of my brother's warehouse, which is, he's got a similar thing to Sleeps, but in London for like food media. And we went there, well, I need a big space, I'm going to paint this massive backdrop, and painted the thing on it. And then like got two friends to like, we were like practicing flying it, because it like, it's all good flying it, but if you can't read what it says, because it's all like hanging, and it was just really fun. And then we had a few photographers out at night, and we're like, you need to get this shot of us at the end of the show, this banner. And I like I'm a big local history nerd, and obviously Sheffield is like the mining strikes and that whole world thing of South Yorkshire and north of England in general. And I love the aesthetic of it. It played a big part in Sleep Society. Like the mining union banners. And as soon as we had that thing, I was like, I know what I want it to look like. I want it to look like this fucking trades union banner. And it totally did. I was buzzing with it. And yeah, it was a fun way to announce a show.
It's fucking cool, man. It's good that you bring all these different sort of creative ways to it, because you can see when you're talking about it that you're buzzed.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of bands that they just sort of pay by numbers.
I think what I'm constantly trying to create is that when I was a kid, it was all physical. You found out about shows because they were in the magazine or they were pasted on a wall.
Yeah.
And right at the beginning, I was always going to chef and pasting posters for my band up in town before it was Sleeps. And now you can announce a show and sell out a show and release a whole record campaign without making anything physical. And I just love that tactileness of how real shit looks. And so I'm just always trying, although I know it's got to be posted on Instagram, and I know it's got to be, that will be the biggest place that we're talking about it. But I'm like, how can we just make it just not made on a computer? Like, can we just put a bit of human in it? It's the same thing as like, we could all record a record with all the same plugins and it'll sound bang on. But if you put a mic in that room, at least there's some real life captured, like some air between all that shit and the drums and the guitars and that whole thing. That for me, that is like what Sleeps is. It's not perfect. It's like, it's quite messy and it's a bit rough and ready, but it's that it is real and it looks real. Whereas if I just did it all online, it has no like soul or character to it. So
You just referenced that you've announced a show today.
yeah.
When you got here, you were actually sat checking everything was going to work and everything was going to post properly. What's your personal role in that sort of process?
Just the whole process really of doing the art, booking the show with Tom and with Alan, but working on the whole show and the budget of it and everything around that with the boys as well, like with their like opinion and input. And then artwork, lineup. So really just every step of the whole thing. And then all the way to today, which is why I walked in. I'm like, just heads up, I'm launching a show in like 5 minutes. Can we start 5 minutes later? And I was doing it all the way down the train. I'm like, I've got all the mail outs ready to go. But I think it's that thing, if you've been part of a project all the way, this is not the point to let go. Do you know what I mean?
Is it exciting announcing it, or is it the nerve-wracking bit?
It's exciting, but I do hate launching because like I just don't like putting it down to comments and that, in waiting for some kind of gratification for something that I've worked on for a year or at least a few months. It's always like you're waiting to feel something that's actually not there. Like I'll feel something after I've played the show or at the show. I won't get anything from the internet today, but letting all that artwork and all that branding and
Putting it out into the world for it to be judged.
yeah, just, and like we've like really like worked hard on the bill. So the show is 20 years of Wash Sleeps, which is we're celebrating at the end of this year. And it's at Doncaster Dome, which is this sort of quite important venue in South Yorkshire. We went to see like Taste of Chaos there when we were kids, and it's like it's basically the biggest place you can play around sort of our end before you get to the arena. It's 3,500 people, and it's us, Guilt Trip, Unpeople, and Oversize, and it'll be a really special show because it's 20 years, which is just bonkers anyway. So we felt like we wanted to do something special for it that's not the obvious, like no offense, but I don't want to go to like an O2 Academy to do it. I want it to be a bit more weird and a bit more Sleeps, and like, and if you're from like Loz is from Doncaster, and when we started, we actually, it was the first place we got a reaction and where people were like started learning the words, and we played there all the time, and we loved the local music community in Donny. It was fucking amazing. And in Chef we didn't feel like we quite fitted in. Maybe it had a bit more, and like in Donny we gelled, and Loz were from there, and it was a really cool metal community. That as soon as I said it to Loz, I'm like, do you want to do Donny Dome? And he's just like, there's almost no venue you can like say to Loz, like local venue that isn't as important to him as doing that. It's the biggest we can do in Doncaster unless we play the fucking football stadium or something.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's cool.
Going backwards a little bit, you did a track with Oli Sykes. Was that a big thing for the band at the time? Because that was extremely sort of successful.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a massive thing at the time. We'd like banged heads with Bring Me in earlier years. And actually, we actually like buried the hatchet, if that's the right phrase. I think so.
Water under the bridge.
Yeah, actually at the wake, at Tom Searle's wake, we were all there, and it was a bit like, fucking hell, like we're being a bit petty here, like something way bigger than all of us has just happened. We're a bit like, why are we like banging heads?
Wait, was it over?
Girls.
Always. What else?
And like, yeah, it was a few years since, and it was a bit like the other band members. We were a bit like, why is there like any drama between us? So we kind of all made mates again, and then And Oli was like, "Can I sing on this tune?" It's quite funny actually. I sent him the song, and then he'd sent me like an audio file back where he'd like recorded something on it, and then the next text message said, "I think your silence speaks volumes." And I thought that was a response because I didn't respond to the audio message. It was like late, and I was like, "I'll deal with that tomorrow." And then I read that, and I was like, "All right, calm down." And then I listened to it, and I was like, "Oh, it's the lyric. I get it." I was like, "Fucking, get your toys in, Bram."
I mean, it's a cool fucking lyric, man.
Yeah, it is. It's so funny.
I wish you'd actually used a different lyric and sent you that, and you'd have been like, you know what?
Yeah,
This is cool.
Yeah,
and shit.
yeah, that's funny. Yeah, and then it was in that You Are We time, and I think we'd done some shows with them just before this. Yeah, we'd done some shows, and so I think we'd actually like we'd kind of made up, did some shows together, and then we were on this boat going to like fucking Tallinn for a show, and I was like on my, it was like everyone was in a karaoke bar, and I was on my laptop like launching Black Friday sales and like doing this thing, and I was fucking stressed. I'd taken photos of the merch on the boat, edited them, and I'm doing this at like, because like such a huge sales day that if you're like not doing something, you're just like missing out on like a big income moment, which we needed at the time. And I was like on my laptop, and I remember Oli coming up and being like, "Are you really doing all that stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he was like, "We could help with like distroing some of your shit or like doing customer care." Because at Drop Dead, they have like, which is like across the road from our warehouse, by the way, they have this like amazing distribution warehouse, all like chef legends basically working there. It's a very cool spot. And I got back from that tour and went for a meeting with like Carol, his mum, and the people who worked there, and they were like, "Yeah, we could distro the merch." Can't even think where we were distroing it from. Oh, we were distroing it from this tattoo shop in Scunthorpe, where I'd like had some friends there before. And yeah, it just became like the beginning of that. And then because that was at the beginning of You Are We as well, he was seeing us, they were all seeing us do the warehouse and those things, and he was like, "This is felt like a good time to just do something together." Yeah.
How does it work with like royalty splits and people getting paid on that?
In the band,
with guest vocals or guest.
it's always just up for discussion if someone wants a share for. I think Oli did that and was like, I'm not here to take anything from it. I just wanted to do something cool. And then I'm always just like, we'll always credit whoever's in it, but do you want a percentage? Do you want a writing percentage? Do you want like a performing royalty? Like, it's just open in that thing. We're not like the same way as we do it in Sleeps in general. We're very open about our royalty splits change constantly throughout every song. Depends who did what. There's some songs where I'm like, I didn't do anything there, like, so take me out and put me in where I did something.
Does that create any tension if one song does really well and somebody hasn't earned?
No, because we've always done it like that, and I think it's a really important part of. We learned quite early on that like we have to just like break down those walls of communication. Where we are like schoolmates, but you fast forward like 15 years and we're like adults in the fucking business.
Yeah.
If we can't talk to each other about money or about these things, it's just going to fall apart. So we've had to be very straight with each other when like members are in a mess, or like everyone's been up and down through like mental health, addictions, all those things, that we've had lots of times where we've had to talk seriously to each other. Like Loz has had 3 throat surgeries. Like we've just and we've collectively all had so much mental health that we've always had to be like, we need to have a chat, we need to help people out, and by doing those things we got good at normalizing conversations about money. And just keeping it legit. Like, it's the same thing as if you can't, you have to be able to go, you've done the work. Like, if you can't credit the person for doing the work, then there's something else going on.
Has that got easier as you've got older?
Yeah, it's got easier because we've done it.
Yeah.
If you just actively do something, then like eventually it won't feel like a big deal. But it is a big deal at first when you're mates.
Yeah.
And you have to start raising those things. It's like but I say it to anyone now in bands doing anything slightly similar, or if you are quite independent, just like normalize that chat, because it'll just boil. Do you know what I mean? If you don't talk to each other about how you feel or those things, it will blow your band up eventually. So I'm glad we were forced into doing them. But I always would say, if you're in a band and you're doing it, like, just try and normalize those hard conversations. The sooner the better.
Definitely good advice that people need to take. With Sleep Society, why didn't you chart register that?
Because we wanted to distribute it from Drop Dead.
Right.
Because it was in COVID. All the people who work in that place are friends of ours, really. And we've got, like, it's like, during Sleep Society kind of started in COVID. It was actually totally planned to happen regardless. Right. And then COVID happened, and it just kind of felt like a counter to that situation. But it was kind of nice that that happened that way, because we just all started working in this thing, and it did well because everyone was on the computers and those things. Like, that like online community was the perfect timing for that. But one of the nice things that happened with it when we launched it, and it did well on the launch, and COVID had just sort of struck, we instantly were like, let's hire the crew. So we hired all of our touring crew, or a bunch of them, to work full-time or part-time for us at the warehouse on things that weren't their usual jobs. So like James, who's our tour manager, was like tour managing the like Patreon, and then Lacey, who's our merch guy, was distributing and packing the packs and like all the membership stuff, and Barnsey, who who's like, he's a guitar tech now, but he's been our content guy for years. We were like, you can just be our full-time content guy, because we need to make all this content. So it felt really important at that time that we were using the money to sort of help support our group in that time. And there's like, it's kind of messed up chart registering, because if you want to chart register, you have to sell your music through like a registered distribution warehouse. But then you can't distribute yourself. I understand it, so you can't cheat. But like, for us, it would have meant that we have to like start going down that route of like fitting in someone else's box.
Yeah.
And like, we're not here to join that rat race. Like, it's great if you did that, but like, the way that heavy bands get in the charts is that you compile all those pre-sales that hit on that first week, but then you could get knocked off by a pop star who actually sells that many things in that first week. And so you could like kill yourself for a year selling pre-sales and think you're going to do well, and then like a bunch of pop records just knock you out water, and you're in a rowing boat while like a fucking cruise ship goes past. It's just, and to get what? Do you know what I mean? To achieve, like, to get this like award from something that really doesn't, I don't know, like, for me, that's not the mountain I'm trying to climb.
Yeah. Does it have any further impact?
I think it like affects your status, and it becomes a chip you can play, you know, and you can say, yeah, we've got a number one, or like on your UOE, it was actually unintentional, really, that we ended up, that was just about us becoming independently successful, and then that managed to be top 10. But yeah, since then we've always been a bit like, what's more important? And at that time it was way more important to go, we're working with our friends, we're keeping them in jobs, shipping these records out to people.
Did that make it sort of like a tighter unit, because everyone knows what's going on in more aspects?
Yeah, totally. And actually we found ourselves being like, this is cooler. Having an unofficial number, like I think on Sleep Society, we were like, oh, we'd be number 4 in the charts. But we chose not to be in it because we chose to keep our friends and local businesses employed in that time. That felt way cooler.
Yeah.
So and I was like, that's a better subject than, hey, we got number 3 in the charts and we had to fucking distribute it for some warehouse that we had nothing to do with, that actually controls the whole market because you have to go there to play that game. And I'm like, there's elements as Sleeps have gone on where things just either feel like a Sleepsy thing or feel not like a Sleepsy thing. And those decisions make themselves for me, you know?
Yeah. I guess the more you do, the more you know if it feels like that. You have done a guest vocal with Landmarks. How did that come about? And is that something that you're interested in more of? Is that like another outlet for you to balance that creative versus the business?
Yeah, I loved it, to be honest. That was cool. We took Landmarks out on a tour in 2019 when we did Roundhouse, and I'd just heard them, and I think they do a Fat Lip cover, and there's a few early Landmarks tunes that I just heard, and I was like, this is cool. It's it's French, and it sounded quite fresh. I love the way they sound. They've got a proper twangy bass tone, and it's a cool sounding band. So we took them on that tour, and they fucking killed it. It was Straight from the Path, Landmarks, and Trash Boat. And Landmarks absolutely crushed that tour. They were sick. And them and Straight from the Path shared a bus and got on proper well. And then Tom from Stray actually started managing Landmarks. And that, they talk about this, that was quite a birthing point for their band. That's where they found their manager. It's where they had their first band of success touring across Europe as a whole, maybe. And they fucking deserved it because they were sick. And they were a really tight band. Flo's an incredible vocalist. And then they just asked me. Flo just asked me. He said oh, we've got this song. It's a slightly bit of a different tune for us. It's slightly more melodic. A bit more of a Linkin Parky kind of feel. We feel like your voice would be sick as the sort of melody. And I was just like, yeah, I don't get asked. It's weird. I sing so much of the melody in Sleeps, but naturally you ask Loz, do you know what I mean? So I was quite touched to be asked, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. I'm totally down. And then we played in Pericon Festival, and I was like, that was the first time we'd seen each other, and I was like, should we just, they were like, we've got a little Porter studio on bus, and I was like, should we go and just hash it out? I've played already, so my voice was kind of shot from the show, but I was like, let's just vibe it out and at least sing it in a room together, see how it feels. Did that on their bus, and it was really fun. My voice was totally cooked, but we still kind of wrote a few bits that ended up sticking in the final version. And then I went back and tracked it at home at our place. And then they said, do you want to be in the video? And it's I shot my bits for the video when we were in Japan on Sleep's tour, and we were doing it all remotely, but it was cool. It's just nice. It's not a regret, but by being so in the Sleep's house all my life, I don't feel like I've collaborated very much. I feel like I've been with one team of people for a long time, which is really special and amazing. But then doing something like that, I'm I really enjoy what it's like just poking your head in another camp for a minute and seeing how they do it. I've been doing a bit of work with Neck Deep, doing I did some set carp work, building their set stuff, because when they were at the warehouse, they could tell that I loved the DIY side, and I was making production stuff for Sleeps as well. That they were like, oh, do you want to come and build set for us? And I was like, yeah. And I just loved going into a new group. I thought it was so healthy, to come back into ours and be like, oh, I've learned all this shit. And same with Landmarks. They're a wicked unit. The way they're operating is good.
Are you looking to do more of that and branching out and do more things with more people in the future?
Definitely. If the right stuff comes up, I'm an open door really for anything like that. I think I don't know which bit I like most. I just like that I'm creative and I can apply myself in different bits. So I feel whether it's someone saying, oh, can you like help me design our production, or can we branding, or is it like management or music? Like, I like that it's not one thing. I just like that I enjoy being creative, and I love the industry and the scene. So whatever corner of it I find myself in, as long as I'm enjoying myself and it's true to myself, then I'm down to be involved.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's nice that you're capable enough in general to just be like, I've had an idea and it doesn't matter where it exists, you can apply yourself and do it.
Yeah, and I think the world we've been in with Sleeps has enabled not just me, but the rest of my band as well. It's like a lot of people have ideas and don't do them because they don't feel like, well, that's not what I do, or I'm not qualified. And I think what we've learned over the years is like, none of us are qualified for shit. Like, we just have a crack at it. Like, we're all pinching ourselves that we're at the place we are. And sometimes it's because we just, like, it's a real fake it till you make it world. And I don't know if you ever make it. Do you know what I mean? I think you just are constantly having a crack, and like, yeah. So I encourage doing something out your box.
Do you have any big goals of where you want it to go, where you think when it's there, I will feel like I've officially made it?
I don't think I'll ever feel like that, but I think that's because I just love the project.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'll ever be over the project. For me, it's not about growing it to a certain size. It's about maintaining us all enjoying doing it and being able to keep playing, and I just want us to be able to exist until we kind of physically can't. When someone's like, I don't want to play live anymore, or I can't play live anymore, then that's fine. But like, I never want there to be a reason why we stop, whether that's because we're burnt out and we feel like we do it too much, or I want you to stop if you said, I don't like making music anymore, I don't like playing. Like, that would be the perfect reason.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I just want to make it sustainable and make it like, the fact that we can live off it is a bonkers thing anyway. If I can get to the end of my like working life and say, I took that idea that I went into secondary school with, and that's all I did from then until the day I start working, I'll be like, fuck yeah.
I mean, that's pretty fucking sick, man. Are there any specific sort of highlights or moments you'd go back to if you could relive that feeling?
Lots, man. They change all the time. It depends what we're doing. I became a dad this year, and it's made me a great emotional soul. I've always been very like sentimental, and like I like looking back, and I like looking at our youth and things, and I'm a bit like, I'm even more so that now. Ali Pali is obviously a landmark moment for us, but I think all the like You Are We was a real big turning point. I'm so glad we got the Warehouse. That's something that I think just did us more good than we knew at the time. When I accepted that I like couldn't call myself the manager for so long, I found it so weird because I don't know, that's like imposter syndrome at its fullest. I was like, it felt so weird. I was like, oh, I do the management stuff. never proud to be like, I manage the band.
Yeah.
But the moment I did that, did me so much good that I accepted that, no, I am doing that role. Like, there's not someone else doing it behind me. It's like, that's a moment for me that I'm really proud I finally got to.
Are the rest of the band comfortable calling you the manager?
I think so. Yeah, I think so now. Like, but I think it's, again, that weird thing where it feels weird, but all those points are things that as we grow up and we normalize talking about things more, it's like Sean never leaves the studio. He'll be writing music right now, like, no question. And it's like, I feel quite proud being like, this is Sean. He's the main songwriter of the band. Like, we all write, but he fucking lives and breathes it. Like, there's something nice about just accepting that's what people do. They're those things, like, and commending each other for it. Like, everyone in our band works their ass off for it and deserves to be where they are. Like, and should all get that praise for their corner of it. Like, I'm not, like, shouldn't be, I think jealousy is the worst thing, you know? Like, be stoked with what you've got, not chasing someone else's.
Absolutely, man. Before we finish, is there anything you'd like to mention or promote or anything that's going on? Obviously, you've mentioned the gig.
please come to the gig, because it'll be special. And now we've got it announced. The next project is like, okay, what do we play and what do we do for the show to celebrate 20 years? And really just, I think from myself and the whole team, I think we're just grateful that we're here. So I think we owe a lot of that to our audience, and we've had fans who've been there for a long time, and who I feel stoked that they understand it. They understand why we do it, and we've obviously done this in so many campaigns, but it is really as simple as if we didn't have that support, we wouldn't be able to play the shows we do. We wouldn't be able to survive off it. So like, we do owe it to that audience. So just a thanks to them.
Just before we finish, actually, what advice then would you give to anyone in the audience that wants to either work in music or launch their own band, like a professional touring band?
I think my only advice is just that, like, if you have like passion and a fire for whatever corner of it, I think like you can totally get there. That like imposter thing is, everyone feels it, but like there's people who, like, you might just be like 2 years later you're in that position, and 2 years before that you had no idea you were even gonna like get your foot in the door. It's the whole industry is like that. You could be like, look at anyone who's in Sleep Token now. If you could tell them 5 years ago where they were going to be now, like, and that's not a normal example, but that is an example of like how like anything's possible in the music world, and it's free of grades and CVs and those things. It's about how you work, how hard you work, and your attitude. And if you've got that, I think you're like, it's limitless if you have that sort of drive to get wherever you want within it.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on talking. It's been amazing.
Thanks for having me.
Conversation, man. It's been really, really interesting.
Cheers, dude. Thanks for me.
Thank you to everyone that has listened. Please follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to watch us, we are on YouTube. And before we finish, I just want to mention the Uprawr Mental Health Foundation. We are a mental health charity that offers 100% free counselling to anybody that connects with guitar-based music.
Very
sort of band is the sort of customer that we have, not the band members, the audience.
You probably could have.
But if you need any help or you want to hear more about it, then go to uprawrfoundation.org and you can get the help that you need right there. Thank you, guys. We'll catch you next time.